cane cultivation. Another incident related to environmental pollution reported from Palwatta. National Election Commission states that mobile polling station program will not be held in quarantine centres on the 31st.
Very good evening to you. You're watching Prime Time News. Those were your headlines. Now let's look at those stories in detail. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa had ordered the subject minister to expedite the construction work of the Central Expressway. The president made these remarks during his visit to Kurunegala.
The President instructed Minister Johnston Fernando to complete the construction work of the stretch up to Kurunegala in the Central Expressway at a public meeting held in the Mavathagama Public Fair. The President focused his attention towards a request made by the All-Island Inter-District School Children Transport Services Association and agreed to provide an additional grace period of 6 months to pay off the leasing loan installments obtained for school vans. The President advised the Army Commander to renovate the playgrounds of Nidahasgama Vidyadeepa College and Devapola Kumara College upon a request made by students of the respective schools. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa decided to construct an indoor badminton complex for the Mavathagama National School and to construct a Seva PSA building for the field officers in Kahavatwala. President Rajapaksa said that he would upgrade the Sir John Kuthalawala Central College to a national school when he arrived at the Dodangaslanda public grounds. On his way to the Dodangaslanda weekly fair, President Rajapaksa engaged in discussions with the people who gathered on the sides of the road. The President, who attended the public rally organized at the Dodangaslanda weekly fair, lent his ear to the issues faced by the people. The selling price of minor export crops declining, the drug menace and lapses in the road system were few of the issues the residents highlighted to the President. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa addressed the people who gathered at the public meeting.
The underworld lifted its head in the past 5 years. When we came into power, not only the underworld thugs but the terrorists too left the country. Some politicians brought some of them back to the country to carry out their political agendas. We have to remind you that President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has started a program to eradicate the drug menace and the underworld that emerged in the last 5 years and save the children of our country.
The President attended a public rally organized at the Alauba Pradeshya Sabha grounds along with Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. The President drew his attention towards a city development plan that included proposals to construct a flyover above the Alauba railway station. The residents also informed the President of the construction of a private building in a plot of land owned by the Damadeniya Hospital and of the shortcomings at the hospital. The President and the Prime Minister attended a public meeting held in the Veerambugedara Pradeshya Sabha grounds in Polgahavela. The series of public rallies of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, which commenced on the 3rd of this month from Anuradhapura, have covered Polonnaruwa, Puttalam, Colombo, Matale, Badulla, Kandy, Ampara, Kegol, Ratnapura, Nuwara, Gaul, Mathura and the Kurunegala districts as of now. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has taken steps to identify the issues faced by the people living in these areas and to provide solutions to them. President Rajapaksa received a warm reception from all of the places he visited in the run-up to the general election.
A person who was arrested on charges of sexually abusing boys has been remanded until the 5th of August. Police have commenced a broad investigation into the matter.
The investigation has commenced following a WhatsApp message that was received by Senior DIG Deshbandhu Tennakon. Chief Inspector in charge of the Women and Children's Bureau of Mathura was also asked to assist in the investigations and arrived in Colombo.
The arrested individual is a 56-year-old resident of Depanama Pannipitiya, which falls under the Maharagama Police Division. We have found out that he has been involved in abuse since 2018. The police have taken a desktop computer, 2 cameras, a pen drive, 137 CDs, 7 photographs and a mobile phone for investigations. We will carry out investigations into the contents of these.
The police media spokesperson also spoke about the case findings.
මේ සැකකරු පුද්ගලික උපකාරක පන්ති පවත්වන පුද්ගලයෙක්.
The suspect is a tuition class teacher. He has been involved in designing sets for television shows. He has used the connection he was able to make during these and brought children into his house and sexually abused them. We have been able to find a large number of photographs of children that the suspect possessed. All the children are boys. They are below the age of 16. Investigations are being carried out into these children as well. These children are safe. 2 children are receiving medication in hospitals. We are investigating whether more children have been abused. If the parents have some suspicions over the fact, they can provide details to us.
ඒ පිළිබඳව තොරතුරු අපට ලබා දෙන්න පුළුවන්.
According to the police, a child is subject to abuse once in every 2 hours in Sri Lanka. Police said that 70% of abuse had been committed by close relatives or acquaintances of the victims.
ළමයින්ට එරෙහිව සිදුවන ක්‍රූරත්වයේ
There is an increase in cruelty against children. The data also shows something similar. Also, the most unfortunate fact here is several children were killed after they were sexually abused. Do not let your child be alone. Do not let an outsider get close to your child in an unnecessary manner. You might think that girls need protection, dear parents, but protect all children.
අපිට අපේ ඇස් වගේ
Defence Secretary retired Major General Kamal Gunaratne says that children should be protected from all forms of abuse. The Defence Secretary has made this statement at a meeting jointly organised by the Defence Ministry and the National Child Protection Authority. According to the Defence Ministry data, the number of child abuse complaints between 2015 and 2019 stands at 47,177. The hotline 1929 can be contacted to report any incidents of child abuse.
Now the election is 9 days away and we are in the final week of election propaganda. Before we move on to politics, there are some stories that you should be up to date about. No one has been arrested thus far over the demolition of the King's Assembly Hall in Kurunegala. There is a risk of public funds being utilized for the restoration work of the building.
M.K. Bandul Harishchandra is the secretary to the Ministry of Buddha Sasana and Cultural and Religious Affairs. He notes a value close to 9 million rupees will be required to repair the building. The secretary added the request letters have been sent to obtain the relevant funds from the Road Development Authority and the Kurunegala Municipal Council. He noted if these two institutions fail to provide the funds, the restoration will be done through government provisions. According to this statement, public funds will be used to renovate this building. However, contradicting this claim, the committee report handed over to the Prime Minister says that the cost of renovation should be obtained from those who are responsible for the demolition. Who ordered for the demolition of the King's Assembly Hall in Kurunegala? Is it fair to use public funds to renovate this while the wrongdoers are still out in the open? The investigations do not happen as fast as the crime. There is a process for the investigations. The Honorable Attorney General has called the officials and provided a set of instructions. We are acting based on those instructions. The report is to be handed over on the 31st. We are working on it step by step. We have obtained statements. No one has been named as a wrongdoer.
චෝදනා කරමින් පුද්ගලයෙක් නම් කළා නැහැ.
එතකොට මාස්කරතුමා දැන් ඒකේ වැඩිකාරයෙක් වුණොත් පොලිසියට අත්අඩංගුවට ගන්න බැරි විදිහට දේශපාලඥයෝ මයිලකටවත් අත් තියන්නේ නැහැ කියලා අභියෝග කරනවා පොලිසියට. වැඩිකාරයෙක් වුණා අත්අඩංගුවට ගන්න මයිලකටවත් අත තියන්න දෙන්නේ නැහැ කියලා ප්‍රසිද්ධිය අභියෝග කරනවා.
අත්අඩංගුවට ගන්න.
If there are no obstructions when they are being arrested, there is no issue.
අත්අඩංගුවට ගන්න පුළුවන්.
ඒ කියන්නේ කතා කරන බොහෝ වචන
ශ්‍රී ලංකා පොලිසිය
No one can legally challenge the police. Sri Lanka police will carry out its duties in a legal manner.
නිසා ශ්‍රී ලංකා පොලිසිය නෛතිකව පැවරලා තියෙන නෛතික අධිකාරිය බාධාකින් තොරව ක්‍රියාත්මක.
දැන් පුරාවිද්‍යා පනත වසර 100කට
The Antiquities Ordinance is a very powerful law that has protected the archaeological heritage of this country for over 100 years. A person who is arrested under this cannot obtain bail until the case is over. The President says the law should be amended. I asked the President, if you love this country, do not do this sinful deed. Many criminals were afraid of this law and they did not harm these valuable places out of fear. If this law is amended and if people are allowed to obtain bail, the mayor might be saved, but all the places will be destroyed.
එරුණාට මෙරටේ කෞතුක වස්තු වේරෙන්නේ නැහැ.
නිත්‍ය වශයෙන්
If they receive a strong government, how will they treat these culturally important places? That is the question we have.
මේ සිද්ධිය ලබා දෙන්නේ.
There is no reason to appoint any committees under the Antiquities Ordinance. The people who demolished this have appeared on media. It is a farce when they claim that they will be arrested after further investigations. We have lodged another complaint. There is no case on this. The government is protecting the criminals. We will file a complaint to the Court of Appeal against the law not being enacted. We are demanding an order for the arrest of the wrongdoers.
නීතිය වහාම ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන ලෙසට නියෝගයක් නිකුත් කරන ලෙසට
The King's Assembly Hall in Kurunagala was destroyed 13 days ago. When will those responsible be brought before the law?
The beach nourishment project in Mount Lavinia was another incident which sparked a public debate on wastage and namesake development projects. What is the current status of the Mount Lavinia beach nourishment project? Newsfirst was able to capture footage of how the sand that was blocking the estuary in Dehiwala, located away from the Mount Lavinia beach, was collected on the side of the estuary. We inquired the residents of the area about the mound of sand.
The sand was blocking the estuary. The water goes through after they cleared it.
We are residents of this area for 13 years. This is the first time sand collected here. Even after the rocks were laid, this didn't happen. They have cleared it. This did not happen before.
Did the sand from the Mount Lavinia beach nourishment project end up in Dehiwala? The beach nourishment project was an 890 million rupee project. However, the money that was spent for the Mount Lavinia beach under this project is getting washed away. Though there were views expressed by officials that this sand will help create a beach at another location, it seems like it is being washed away directly to the Dehiwala estuary.
If they wanted to nourish the beaches of Dehiwala and Vellavatta, they should have created a mechanism to ensure the canal outlets and the estuaries are protected. They did not do this, and the canals and the estuaries are filled with sand.
It has been reported that the Indian Airports Authority has frozen out a joint venture with the Sri Lankan government to develop the Mattala Airport.
The Centre for Aviation said the move is surprising as politically it is in India's interest to assist with such development projects. The Aviation Centre points out that similar to several airports in Spain, the Mattala International Airport can be described as another white elephant. The report published by the Centre for Aviation describes the Mattala Rajapaksa International Airport as a white elephant with a very small catchment area that nobody flies to. The project was built by the government with a loan worth $210 million from the China Exim Bank. Subsequently, the previous government used the airport to store paddy. It is a forgotten fact that the funds belonging to the people of this country were used to construct this airport, which is now seen as a source of ridicule. Despite the concessions granted through the loans used to finance this project, it must be remembered that it is the funds belonging to the general public that will be used to repay this debt. No one would hesitate to witness development at the Mattala International Airport. However, it is the public's opinion that development should take place properly and sustainably.
While development at the Mattala International Airport is at a halt, this is a revelation about an incident in Pelavatta that will potentially cause environmental damage.
What you are witnessing is another forest land belonging to the Buttala Demilier Hebes area. Plans are currently underway by the administration of the Pelavatta sugar factory to clear 2,000 hectares of land for the cultivation of sugarcane. The decision to clear 2,000 hectares of other forest land was reached following a discussion with Subject Minister S.M. Chandrasena in June this year. Locals said that a majority of land that will be claimed by this project belongs to other forest lands. Locals also claim that approval to clear this land has not been obtained by the Department of Forest Conservation. On the 24th of this month, a road constructed in the Ayakapalla area in Buttala as an entryway for 2,000 hectares of land proposed to be cleared, causing damage to land belonging to the Department of Forest Conservation. Following a tip-off from locals, officials attached to the Department of Forest Conservation visited the site and attempted to seize the backhoe used to clear the land and arrested an individual involved in the project. However, their attempts were severely hampered. Subsequently, the Buttala police arrived at the scene and arrested the respective individual along with the backhoe. The attempts made by the officer of the Forest Conservation Department to protect the law amid the multiple obstacles is commendable. Do you remember how the environmental damage caused to the mangroves of the Queen's Island of Negombo due to the intervention of politicians who prevented in the past?
The forest density in the highland area is approximately 60%. The forest density in Kampaha, which is 1.6%, is the lowest in the country. Of this area, 18 acres belong to the Department of Wildlife. We only have 1,086 hectares of land. Of the 1,086 hectares, the land is being distributed to various parties. Who is responsible for this? How can we breathe? How will we source oxygen?
Isn't the empowered stance of these officials attributed to the 5/2001 circular? If the circular is abolished or amended to the whims and fancies of politicians, isn't this report not the perfect example for the potentially detrimental consequences to our environment?
Continuous deforestation. A large-scale sand racket in the Mahavali River in the Somavati Reserve in Tummodara Kantale. A cultivation carried out causing destruction to the Bandarapulyankulam Reserve in Anuradhapura. The subject minister fails to provide a proper response when questions are raised in this regard. Amidst all of this, an attempt made to hand over other forest land under the discretion of the district secretaries and divisional secretaries. The people have not provided the authority to anyone to destroy the heritage and the future of this nation.
From Palwatta, we now move to Nittambu. A heated situation arose between a group of people who came to claim ownership to a plot of land located in Nittambu and the residents of the land.
This footage, now vastly circulated on social media, shows how a group of people who are living on the plot of land and another group that arrived there are engaged in an argument. A plot of land in Nittambu under the Kalalpitiya Grama Seva division has been subject to this clash. Dhanasiri Vijayasinghe and his son Tilanga Vijayasinghe, who are the current owners of the land, posted this incident live on social media. A heated situation arose when the group of people attempted to enter the property while police officers were present at the location. They have laid claim to this 32-acre plot of land which was given to them as a gift deed.
We came to this property on the 18th of January this year. Asoka Dasanayaka was murdered in Kolpiti. Following his death, a person by the name of Andrew Samarakon enters the dilapidated building located near our house by force on the 21st of January. We did not have the strength to face the situation back then.
The owners say that the gift deed has been given to them by the wife of an individual named Asoka Dasanayaka, who was murdered some time back. The lady in question has also passed away. This land is owned by my father. A group of people are trying to capture this land by force. His name is Andrew Samarakon. He threatens our lives too. He establishes a security firm in this property called Centrico. They claim that they are the henchmen of Chanukaratvatta and threaten us. The police aids this too. We have filed a case in court. We have sought restraining orders as well. They are doing such things against such a backdrop. They tried to enter the property by force today. They came in 3 vehicles, and there were about 10 security guards from the Centrico Security Company. As of today, all our family members are living in fear. These kinds of boards can be seen in Colombo 7 as well. They are trying to obtain this land by force. These people try to enter the property with the assistance of the police. Can they do that? I have the recording in my possession. A chief inspector of a branch of minor offences entered the property and told me that he would give me 5 million rupees.
මේක ඉඩම් මංකොල්ලයක් වෙන්නේ. මේ වගේ බෝඩ් දැන් අරන් ආවේ. මේ වගේ බෝඩ් ගෙනල්ලා දාලා තිබ්බා. අපි කියන්නේ මේ
What we say is police should carry out their duties without being biased. What would happen to our deed if they are trying to capture our land by force? We are protected because of the court order. We have obtained a restriction order from the court. The justice is not bonkers to give us a court order if we do not have a legal deed. We have informed the higher-ups in the police department regarding this. So why can't these people adhere to that? They come with the police. They pushed my wife. Can police do that?
When police arrived, I told them that this is our property. They pushed us, saying get back. Police always takes their side. I asked the authorities to let us live in peace with my children. There is a death threat to my family. They said they will come and kill us.
A similarity can be seen in this board that was found at this land in question and with another board that is hung on a wall of a luxurious house in Colombo 7. The address of this SUV that entered the property is registered to a similar luxurious house in Colombo 3 near the same controversial house in Colombo 7. Meanwhile, the court case of the plot of land was heard at the Attanagalla court today. The court ordered the owner of the property, Dhanasiri Vijayasinghe, and his son to be remanded until the 4th of August under the charges of violating public peace.
With that, we go in for a quick commercial break. The political update on the other side.
Playing this weekend on Yes 101. The Weekend Top 30 with Hollywood Hamilton.
What's up? It's Hollywood Hamilton. You know what we do around here. It's the fastest moving countdown in America. Some of the biggest names in the industry in the studio.
Hi, I'm Ariana Grande.
This is Drake.
This is Lady Gaga.
Backstage with us and on the WT30 hotline. I'll catch you this weekend for the Weekend Top 30.
The Weekend Top 30 with Hollywood Hamilton on Yes 101.
Welcome back to the news. During an event in Mathura today, Sunil Handunnetti expressed these views about deals formed in the political sphere. Maithripala Sirisena was elected as president so that the wrongdoers would be punished. That was what the people wanted. But what happened? The wrongdoers and thieves were given ministerial positions in the government formed by Maithripala Sirisena and Ranil Wickremesinghe. This is why the avant-garde case never progressed. The Minister of Justice hid important files containing evidence. This was revealed after the Minister of Justice shifted parties and joined the ruling party. This is how the thieves were protected. This is the truth and this is what's being repeated. What was done by Maithripala and Ranil back then is being repeated by the President and the Prime Minister. This is why all the political cases are being postponed to the post-election period. After the elections, the bidding process starts. Will you accept a position in the government and join the ruling party, or will you go to courts and to prison? What is the easy option?
Party leaders. Political update.
Chairman of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, former President Maithripala Sirisena, attended a meeting in Pimpurattava in Polonnaruwa. There were a group that was going on about the rice mafia. You remember who it was? The government had to enforce a control price on rice. When that happened, the price of paddy came down. The people who were shouting about rice mafia should now be held responsible for the price reduction of paddy. Carefully look into who was responsible for this. When there is a control price on rice, the paddy price came down. There are questions now. I request for a solution for this from the President and the Prime Minister. This is not a mistake of the government. The person who was shouting about the rice mafia is responsible. Leader of the National People's Power, Anura Kumara Dissanayake, attended a public rally in Maharagama yesterday.
There are many countries in the world where the country is poor and so are its leaders. But there are some countries where the country is rich but so are its leaders. But in Sri Lanka's case, the country is poor but its leaders are rich. So we must find out how our leaders became rich. An individual who was once an accountant at a small company is now a very rich man. Another individual who was once a representative of an insurance company is now a millionaire. I am not trying to lead down anyone. A person who once served tea in a shop in Gaul is now the owner of tea estates. If we identify the cause that led such people to gain wealth, we can identify the reason for the current situation our country is facing. Our country is poor, but its leaders are rich. We are aware of the question as well as its answers. Enough discussing these problems. We now need solutions for them.
General Secretary of the Frontline Socialist Party, Kumar Gunaratnam, attended a rally in Horana yesterday.
Back in November last year, the country had a government led by the United National Party. They pledged to punish the wrongdoers and put an end to corruption. But what happened? They robbed the central bank. They did not put an end to corruption. They formed deals with corrupt factions. Looting did not stop. They resumed looting. They did not bring any democracy. The country's debt situation is such that every newborn shoulder a debt burden of about 600,000 rupees. Although they refute allegations that they have not formed any agreements with the Rajapaksas, their behavior in the past has proved otherwise. We are willing to work with them. We are willing to support progressive factions of the UNP, SLPP and JVP as the country's future is critical at this point.
Leader of the Samagi Jana Balawega, Sajid Premadasa, attended a few public rallies yesterday. The rally that was held in Mount Lavinia was organized by the Colombo district candidate Hirnika Premachandra.
It will not be easy to be a minister in our government. Our goal is to bring prosperity to your lives. I promise that under our government we will make sure that everyone from the Prime Minister to the ministers to the Parliament will work hard to make your lives and the country better. There is no luxury in our politics. We want the lives of the public to be luxurious. Do not think for a moment that under the leadership of Sajid, people will be able to prioritize going on foreign trips. Those will not happen in the Samagi Jana Balawega. We are committed 24 hours a day and 365 days of the year to work for the people.
කලින් කල ලෝක ඉතිහාසයේ ඉතාමත්ම අභියෝගාත්මක යුග එළඹෙනවා. එවැනි යුගයකයි අපි ජීවත් වෙන්නේ. අපේ රටට විතරක් නෙමෙයි මුළු ලෝකෙම ඉතාමත්ම භයානක උදුරු වලට මුහුණ දී තිබෙන මේ අවස්ථාවේදී අපේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුව නැමැති උත්තරීතර ස්ථානයට අපි යවන්න ඕනේ රටේ ඉන්න ඉතාමත්ම හොඳ දැහැමි ආධ්‍යාත්මිකව දියුණුණු සදාචාර සම්පන්න උගත් ඒ වගේම ආත්ම දෘෂ්ටියෙන් තොරව මුළු විශ්වයම ගැන එක පවුලක් හැටියට හිතන්න පුළුවන් අයයි අපට පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට අවශ්‍ය. ඒ නිසා පක්ෂ ભેද, කුල ભેද, ಜಾති ભેද සියල්ල අමතක කරලා පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට අපි ඇරියොතින් ඒ විදිහේ බුද්ධිමත් පිරිසක් ඒ අයට ලංකාවේ අනාගතයට නෙමෙයි ලෝක ඉතිහාසයේ අනාගතයටත් විශාල වශයෙන් සේවයක් කරන්න පුළුවන්.
The link between promises and politics is a close one. Promises that come up close to an election dies down soon after. This is a report on a similar incident.
A water project for the 5 villages including Kamal Doluwa belonging to the Anamaduwa Pallama Divisional Secretariat started in 2012. The objective of this project was to obtain water for 5 villages of Kamandoluwa, Galkulama, 10 acres, Surakkulama and Vattakale. Sadly, for 8 years the project has been halted. The officials who promised the completion of the project is nowhere to be seen. Villagers claim that the project was funded by 1,000 rupees taken from each family and 13 million rupees from the government.
මේවා උඩ තියෙන මේ සාමාන්‍ය මේක හරකෙක් පෑගුවොත් මේ බට කඩලා යනවා. මේ දිගට මේක දැන් අඟල් එකමාරක් විතර තියෙන මේ සොකට්ටේ අඟල් 3ක් තියෙනවා. අඟල් එකමාරේ බහැලා ඔන්න බලන්න. අඟල් එකමාරේ මොකද සෙට් වෙන්නේ. අඟලක්වත් නැහැ හෙට්ටේ දීවන්නකො. ඔන්න ජොයින් ගහව මිනිස්සු.
එක දාන්න විතර ලක්ෂ 16ක් දීලා තියෙනවා මේ වෙනකොට. මේ දැන් මේ අවුරුදු 3ක් විතර නම් මේ ලයින් එක කපලා තාම මිනිස්සුන්ට වතුර ටිකක් නැහැ. තුන් පාරක් ආවා මේක මේ විවෘත කරන්න. කිසිම ආණ්ඩුවකින් අපිට කිසිම මේ හිතක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ.
Another party that is being accused by the villagers is the Galkulama United Water Resources Community Organisation. Since the water project has come to a standstill, villagers have to fetch water from locations like this.
උයන්නේ මේ වතුර වලින්. වෙන අපිට වතුර ගන්න දිහක් නැහැ, නලක් නැහැ, මොකවත් නැහැ.
Villagers claim that the Parliament Divisional Secretariat distributes water from time to time and that kidney disease is a common occurrence.
මේ ඉන්නේ අපේ අම්මා. මෙයා වග්ගඩ රෝගී. දැන් අවුරුදු දෙකමාරක් විතර වෙනවා ඉස්පිරිතාලෙට ගිහින් ડોක්ටර්ලා කියන්නේ හොඳ වතුර දෙන්න කියලා වතුර වලින් තමයි හැදෙන්නේ කියලා කියයි. අඩි 38ක ලිඳක් අපල තියෙනවා. ඉතින් ලිඳේ අඩි 9 වතුර තියෙන්නේ. මේ පැති වලට වතුර අඩුයි. කිව්ල තමයි තියෙන්නේ.
These people request for the water project to be finished soon.
Addressing a media briefing at the National Election Commission, its chairman, Mahinda Deshapriya, says that the mobile polling station program scheduled for the 31st of July for quarantined voters to cast their ballot will not go ahead as planned.
We have faced an issue at present with regards to voting in advance in Sri Lanka on the 31st. More than organizing activities, our country does not have a law to hold voting in advance. We have received complaints regarding this. Therefore, we cannot go to houses and quarantine centers and get people to cast their votes. We expect to seek specialist legal advice in this regard. Even my son was in 14-day mandatory quarantine. Professor's daughter was also in quarantine. Both certificates say that they have completed the quarantine period successfully, so there is nothing to worry about. Our polling stations are safer than any other location in the country. Those involved in the vote counting process have nothing to fear either. There is nothing called corona votes. If people in quarantine cast their franchise, their ballots will be counted and handled by medical health officers. We will not give that to the normal staff. There is nothing to worry about. Corona will not spread through paper.
ඒක වෙන්නේ නැහැ. කඩදාසි වලින් බෝ වෙන්නේ නැහැ.
ඔබතුමා සඳහන් කරන්නේ නීති විරෝධී යම් කිසි ක්‍රියාවක යෙදුනොත් අපි උනත් ඒක වෙන්න පුළුවන් කියලා.
අපි යොදවන්න ඕනම් වෙලාවක
The police have been vested with the powers to use weapons when needed. They will exercise their powers when required. Weapons are not meant to be used to cut trees. However, we believe there will be no need to use weapons. If election rules are violated on the day of elections, the National Election Commission will not hesitate to cancel the voting activities at the polling station. Meanwhile, the final discussion between the National Election Commission and permanent representatives of political parties took place today. National organizer of the SLPP, former Minister Basil Rajapaksa, Secretary General of the Samagi Jana Balawege Ranjit Madhuma Bandara, and representatives of several other parties were present.
In related news, Colombo district candidate of the Samagi Jana Balawege, SM Marika, lodged a complaint at the National Election Commission today, claiming that Colombo district candidate of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, Minister Vimal Weeravansha, had misused state assets. Vimal Weeravansha also responded to this accusation in the political sphere.
The complaint was lodged based on a letter claimed to have been sent by Minister Vimal Weeravansha.
රටට පණ දෙන්න කතා කරනවා. රාජ්‍ය සේවය පිණිසයි කියලා දාලා.
His poster has been used as a stamp on this letter on one side and on the other. His number has been written along with the party's name. We are here to complain about the misuse of public assets. Firstly, the picture of a candidate has been used as a stamp. This is the first offence. The second is depriving the postal department of the income. This is a punishable offence under the Public Assets Act. If such a document is to be sent via the Independent Postal Service, it must be stamped as an election document. The secretary of the party must send a policy statement, but this document is none other than something that will provoke the general public.
මේ යවලා තියෙන්නේ මොකද්ද? මේක ඇවිල්ලා මිනිස්සු අවශ්‍යන ලියුමක්.
I designed a beautiful envelope for postal voters which includes a picture that looks like a stamp. It is not something to be pasted. It is just a picture, but it looks like a stamp. If one is to paste a fake stamp on an envelope, it will not go through. Does the postal department accept such documents? Even a child understands this. As there is nothing to find fault with, they are now trying to point fingers at a stamp. We cross over now to a short commercial break. So the Lakshapan estate is where this incident happened, where this rare black leopard got caught in a snare and it died. So why we are going to Lakshapan is to understand, first of all, how it happened, and most importantly, why it happened.
Snares are now a threat for leopards that we will really need to seriously consider.
It's obviously it's a nasty death. It can be a very nasty death because it can take a long time.
So we have a limited stock and we can't attend everywhere.
Drawing your attention to some world news now. In your latest COVID-19 update internationally, President Donald Trump's National Security Advisor, Robert O'Brien, has tested positive for COVID-19, according to an official familiar with what happened, according to an unnamed statement to the press from the White House. O'Brien is experiencing mild symptoms and is self-isolating and working from a secure location off-site. Meanwhile, in Australia, the state of Victoria has reported the country's highest daily increase in coronavirus infections, prompting the authorities to warn that the 6-week lockdown may last longer if people continue to go to work while feeling unwell.
The second most populous state in Australia reported 532 new cases of the virus which causes COVID-19, the most new cases in a day since the pandemic arrived in Australia, and 6 more deaths, taking the state total to 77, almost half the national death toll. 5 of the latest deaths were people in aged care facilities. Prime Minister Scott Morrison said the high number of new cases in Victoria showed how transmission of the illness among younger people who are considered to have a lower risk could spread to aged care facilities through family members.
Coming back to some more local news, during the testimony of current SDIG and former Director of State Intelligence Service Nilantha Jayawardena, notices were issued to 14 VIPs, including former President Maithripala Sirisena and former Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, to present a legal representation to the PCOI probing the April 21st, 2019 attacks.
Accordingly, notices were issued to former President Maithripala Sirisena, former Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, former State Minister of Defence Ruwan Wijewardena, former Law and Order Ministers Sagala Ratnayaka and General Secretary Ranjit Maduma Bandara, former Defence Secretaries Kapila Vaidyaratna, Karuna Sen Hettiarachchi and Hemasiri Fernando, former IGP Pujit Jayasundara, former CNI Sisira Mendes, former Head of TID Nalaka de Silva, Brigadier Chula Kodituakku, former SDIG CID Ravi Senaviratna and Director CID Shania Besekara have been asked to send legal representatives. These VIPs are also to give evidence before the Presidential Commission of Inquiry in the future. Subsequently, Councillor Pulasti Rupasinghe with Harshana De Silva represented former President Maithripala Sirisena. Councillor Navoda Vijayaratna appeared for former Defence Secretary Karuna Sen Hettiarachchi, and Shanaka Bandara PC appeared for Sisira Mendes. President's Counsel Andra Maddegoda appeared for former IGP Pujit Jayasundara, while Counsel Dilshan Jayasuriya represented former Defence Secretary Hemasiri Fernando. Counsellor Upul Kumar Peruma represented former SDIG in charge of the CID Ravi Senaviratna and former Director of CID Shania Besekara. Moreover, former Chief of National Intelligence Sisira Mendes and former CID Director Shania Besekara were present at the Presidential Commission of Inquiry in person during the testimony of former SIS Director Nilantha Jayawardena. PC Nalinda Indathissa, representing former SIS Director Nilantha Jayawardena, and Additional Solicitor General who led the evidence, requested the commissioners that the evidence should be taken without the media. Former SIS Director Nilantha Jayawardena also informed the Commission that he cares deeply about national security. He said if the sensitive information which he was going to present before the Commission would be publicized, that would be a threat to the national security and his family. However, the commissioners said that around 150 documents which involved Jayawardena had been marked and discussed in public, so that some evidence of former SIS director could be taken in camera, and while others would be taken before the media.
A fire was reported at multiple houses in Pethiagoda, Kalaniya this morning.
Our correspondent said the fire had completely destroyed 5 houses. The Colombo Fire Brigade said 2 fire trucks were dispatched to douse the fire. Locals claimed the fire that had erupted in one house had spread to the houses nearby. Meanwhile, a fire broke out at an electronic store in Battarmulla. The fire brigade said it deployed 4 fire engines to douse the blaze. The cause of the fire is yet to be ascertained.
The central bank said that further discussions are ongoing to secure additional funds worth $1 billion under a special bilateral swap agreement with the Reserve Bank of India after both parties entered into a $400 million currency swap agreement on the 24th of this month. This would provide short-term financing to the central bank to meet the country's balance of payment requirements. In more news from the central bank, Sri Lanka has successfully sold $100 million of dollar-denominated Sri Lanka development bonds, more than the rupee treasury's yields. With that, we wrap tonight's edition of Primetime News. I'm Chaturanga Parachi with our sign language interpreter Brian De Cruz. Have a safe and a good night. We leave you with the Nagitimu Sri Lanka song.
Sri Lanka, okay, Nagitimu Sri Lanka. Isidanu venas minisat guna piripurata Sri Lanka. Meran bhumiye urumaya apage rakagamu Sri Lanka. Idiriye kana ekne apasitwat rakagannata Lanka. Nagitimu Sri Lanka, okay, Nagitimu Sri Lanka. Matram Khanada Manida Pandagale Neendidum Sri Lanka. Nattamutti nammurime desate kaapom irakanna. A time for us to hope and pray and heal our motherland. We must unite and march ahead, arise Sri Lanka now. Yendere Sri Lanka, rise up Sri Lanka. Nagitimu Sri Lanka, okay, Nagitimu Sri Lanka.